Well, what a time, what a time.
To be alive,
What a
because
time, what a time.
hmm,
Can we talk about what you saw? Can we talk about what you felt? Can we talk about what just happened?
okay, so my initial thoughts. I knew,
What just happened?
I knew it would be bad for Trump. I didn't know it would be quite that bad for Trump. I mean, it was literally one of the worst takedowns on a debate stage that I have ever witnessed.
You know
Uh,
what? Let's reset. If you're just
okay.
joining us,
Oh yes, let's do
if you're
that.
just joining us, because we can jump right into this. You can start to feel our emotion. I've had to change a lot of things about tonight from where like I don't even really care about the makeshift set tonight. I really don't know. I had to go get something that could free me so that I could say what I need to say, emote how I need to emote, punch the air if I need to punch the air, and then apologize. I feel like we should all be apologizing to each other for allowing this to go on as long as it's gone on.
Because why have we done that? Why hasn't someone said, you know what? Enough is enough. That's we don't need to do this anymore. Joke's over. We could just not do this. And I just feel like at some point surely I'm going to wake up and it I can't be like Biggie was all a dream because this is a nightmare to have a political party, one of our two primary political parties, choose this man as their official candidate for president of the United States just seems asinine, to say the least, delusional at best, and inconsiderate, disregarding, arrogant, and so many other things
I'm
that
just
I
so
can
embarrassed
pinpoint.
for America that
I'm
that
not
was
embarrassed
your
for
your
America.
ever representative. I mean, by birth and some documents that were generated when that happened, I have a stake in this place, and I do. I'm, you know, I'm an American. As painful as it is, and again, it's not you and I. We're not the only people that feel like it's painful.
Right. And it is very painful. I'm gonna pull up our notes document that I couldn't even take notes in fast enough. Um, so I'm just
Yeah,
gonna have
I'm
to
trying to get mine together too. I was really not trying to.
no, I'm just gonna have to use it as a heading. But what I did not hear them talk about too much, other than and you we said we were gonna pull up our social media, so I'll do that now. One of the things that I didn't hear too much conversation about was LGBTQ plus rights. Other than him saying that really outrageous line about her wanting to allow or perform transgender operations on immigrants. Is that did I read that correctly? Yes, Donald Trump thinks Harris is giving gender reassignment surgery in prisons to illegal immigrants. And so I just when he said that, I was like, there's no way I heard that correctly. Because it just sounds outrageous. But they didn't too much hit LGBTQ plus rights this evening. There was a lot of talk about the border and immigration, even on questions that weren't on the border and immigration. It seemed like Trump was back to his tricks of I'm just going to redirect. And every time I don't know the answer to a question or I don't have a firm stance on a policy, I'm going to redirect to either immigration and the border or China or Russia. At one point, he started talking about Viktor Orban. At one point, he started talking about the strongman. So he did a lot of
Can we
redirecting on.
pause there for a second? Can we pause
Yes,
because I want to hit that for a second.
yes.
So he accused Vice President Harris of how should I say? he was very accusatory towards her about her relationship with Putin.
He was.
After he said that he knows Putin well
He did.
and that he would be able to, and then after he was accusatory towards her, then he said that he knows Putin well again.
He did.
But he did not answer the question about whether or not he wanted Ukraine to win the war.
He did not. Not at first. Not until Lindsay Davis went back and repeated the question again and said, "So, do you want Ukraine to win the war? Do you
He
want
still
the
gave
war?"
you a half answer.
He did. It's and sadly, that was still better than half of his responses to some of the other questions. So, I mean, I don't do with that what you will. But that was one of the few questions in the second half of the debate that he somewhat answered. And like you said, it was still only just half a response. Um, of course, there was a lot of blaming of Harris about the border. One of the questions was, why did the Biden administration wait so long or wait to act about the border? And Harris, Vice President Harris, started talking about how Trump essentially called some congressional members and killed the bipartisan immigration bill that was up, which is true. That has not been a secret, and he didn't necessarily deny that he did it, because then when the question was flipped to him of why did you call some congressional members and kill this bill, he redirected again and never responded. But
And you
even
know,
in denial, he
if
didn't
I was
deny
going to say, well, if I would pinpoint a place where there was a miss there, because a, why did you call these congressional members and do that? Why did you call Georgia and ask for 11,000 votes?
it.
You
Yes.
seem to have a habit of calling, and there's no sign that you would stop doing that because your Supreme Court just said that you have presumed immunity for official acts, which means that the prosecution, if it ever came towards you, it would be delayed and only happen with bona fide proof,
Right. And
which
just
gives you the leeway and the justification to keep doing it.
yes. And just as a reminder or a note for anyone who has never listened to us before or is not aware of the Supreme Court decision that Alex is talking about, he's referring to the immunity Supreme Court decision that was just decided in the last session with the Supreme Court, that decided that the president can be excused essentially, or is immune to official acts, but is not immune for unofficial acts, while the definition of both of those is very ambiguous and left up for interpretation in the Supreme Court decision, which Sotomayor dissented. Sotomayor and Jackson dissented strongly.
What
Um,
about um,
don't even ask.
I almost said Uncle Tom, and I know that's not that man's name, but it is Uncle Thomas. Thomas.
Um, he he Lord Jesus help me. He did not dissent. He actually was a concurring opinion. Not only was he a concurring opinion, he took it a step further in his concurring opinion and gave Judge Eileen Cannon a bit of uh, leeway, essentially, in what she could decide to do in order to try and throw out the case that she was overseeing in Florida, which she was doing all of the delay tactics that she could. Then all of a sudden, the Supreme Court decision came down. She made her decision, and then I think 2 days after she made her decision to throw out the case, then it was the RNC. So I'm not going to say it was coincidental timing, but it didn't seem very coincidental. And again, Justice Thomas literally put in his concurring opinion on the immunity case for the Supreme Court, you should do this. If I was in this situation and overseeing this case, here is the reasoning that I would give to throw this case out, is essentially what he said in his decision. So that's what happened with
Oh,
the
I wish we could really dive into that because they also use that in their uh, case, well, not case, but in the pretrial hearing with Judge Chutkin, and they
Yes,
said that they were instructed.
they did.
Shock.
And that judge immediately stopped and said,
She
"What?"
didn't read it that way
She did not
because
read it
neither
that
did
way
I.
because
I
neither
think that was the
did
proper response. 'Cause who read it that way?
yeah,
Not I.
it was a problem. We need to just do a whole other show on the different court cases and things of that nature because I did hear that and was actually laughing when I heard that that judge
100%. And
responded.
it's totally worth the deep dive.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so one of the first comments that Vice President Harris said at the top of the debate, I don't recall what the question was, but she went to answer it, and essentially, I think it was really just part of their opening kind of comments and answering and responses. And she said, "Donald Trump doesn't have a plan for you." And I said, "Well, actually, that's kind of the end all be all. Debate over. Donald Trump doesn't have a plan for you."
I
He
mean,
tried
for me, there was a lot of things that she said at the onset, and I was like, well, I could be gone, but I'm
exactly.
not here for my me. I'm not here for me.
I'm not here for me. We're
I
here to
think
give the
that I'm not here.
people.
I'm not here for me. I'm here for y'all.
We're
That's
here to give
really
the people
what
what they
this is
need.
about. And that's the reason that I'm moving around is because I wanted us to really get to, and I'm going to follow you on some of that, but I wanted us to really get to and kind of comb through some of this reaction in real time.
Right.
And it takes an entire team of millions to give you even some of the most bullshit productions that you see on cable. And who am me to judge?
You know what?
That said, I know that you were using this hashtag on Threads.
I was.
So while my cam views may change, it's because I've got multiple things up as we try to figure this out. So
Listen, this is what we do, and it's debate night, so here we are. I should have
yeah,
grabbed
we got to
my
flesh this thing out. So
yeah, I should have grabbed my beverage, but it's
if you
okay.
haven't done so, go ahead and send that email. You call
Yeah,
in, you'll be late.
yeah,
You
yeah.
were up because you had to follow through, and we had to get through this.
You had to
And
follow up
because
on democracy.
and really, this is really so that you can take it and have these conversations. Because while you will hear this spun in so many ways, the spin on this is going to be to the point where it's so ridiculous. I'm a sucker for political news, so while I'm doing that, I'm going to make sure that I have it to watch it later to see how it was spun. Um, but our goal here is to never spin anything for you.
No,
And ultimately, I hope people do get clarity from the effort and the work that we put in. But Black people, we're looking at you, and this is for you. And amen.
and Ashe. So one thing that we have to cover, and I'm going to pull up my threads as well. But one thing that he said after she said, Donald Trump doesn't have a plan for you, and she repeated it when he went to rebut. He said, she doesn't have a plan. It's like four sentences: run, spot, run. And it was at that point that I said, "Oh, she's about to cook him."
I'm not gonna lie to you. At that point, I knew because I had put my wine to the side because I
Okay.
said I need to be
Okay.
somewhat coherent. I wanted to be aware. I wanted to be connected.
Yes.
Um, I don't know Chris D. Mowry. Don't know who you are. Would love to meet you because absolutely. And if you're
Because
America, because
yes,
the thing is, if you're wondering how people were feeling, it doesn't matter the platform, except
right.
probably Truth Social and
Yes.
X. You
Yeah.
need to be careful on there because certain things just all of a sudden you won't be able to search them anymore
Right. Right.
because the
Agree.
person that owns it doesn't want you having these conversations. Though he's said he bought it so that it could be a public square that did not include censorship. But it's very censored, so be careful. And probably less
And
than
not
10% of
censored
what
in
you
the
see
right
on
way.
there is real. Oh, it's not. It's not censored
Not
for
censored
the
in the right way.
benefit of the people that I just said that this was for. That
And that's it. That's all.
that's
That's it.
all.
That's all. Yeah, the run spot
But
run just really. I
Thank you,
just
Chris. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate you
we appreciate you, Chris,
because
because
that
you couldn't make this up. You just couldn't make this up.
my
Um,
sentiments exactly. Thank you, Chris.
yeah,
You are appreciated.
I just, and then it just went downhill from there. Um, one thing that I said, and I said it a couple of times, was he keeps doubling down on this. I don't know what Project 2025 is. I don't know who those people are. He said something to the effect of, it sounds like some folks got together and put together some thoughts. What? But then later he says that, there were very fine people in his administration. And he's talking about all the folks that worked with him when he was in office, and
Of
very fine
course.
folks, and they did such a good job. Well, sir, half of those folks are the architects of Project 2025. And this is not something I'm making up. This is something that is easily verifiable. Easily, you can easily check me on that. There are quite a few architects of the Mandate for Leadership, Project 2025 mandate and guidebook for what all of the policies and changes that they want to make to all of the entire three branches of government. And he says he doesn't know them. He doesn't know what Project 2025 is, yet many of them worked for him or were in his administration.
Hey, I'm gonna give you some
Which is
fast facts because we do talk Project 2025. We got it, and we will. Well, I mean, we're going to keep covering it because his entire all his policies are in there in some
right,
form or fashion, and it was created by people that worked for him. But fast
right,
facts, and this is verified by CBS News, that at least 80 proposals that would revive executive orders and other policies of Trump's administration from 2017 to 2020 are in Project 2025. 170 proposals that match ideas Trump's campaign has published on its campaign website or match things he said at rallies, speeches, and in interviews in Project 2025. 21 more proposals that match both Trump's past actions and his campaign promises and statements are inside of Project 2025. To say that he knows nothing about it, he has nothing to do with it, and it wants to be as far away from it as possible is not only categorically false and a damn lie, it is a blatant play in your face.
yes,
And that the moment that I think we say this often, but I don't think we say it as often. You don't realize how much because of how we struggle with change and trauma in America. And every time there's a change or trauma, you're told that this is not who we are, and we don't address the fact or the root cause of anything. There's this false semblance sometimes for people, an affinity for this country that doesn't exist. And it
yeah,
can be all of those things, and it can be all of the things that it is. And it's been a much better place for people, a lot of people at one point in time. And there's a lot of people that want to go back to that place.
right,
But because of that gloss, and when that happens, we start to believe that our elected officials should have do have the best intentions for us. But the more that you learn about how this works, how they remain in that space, even if they do by chance get elected duly by the people that they serve, by
if
chance, if by chance, if that were to happen, how they
right,
stay, once you learn, you start to consider that there could be something aside from the fact that your best interest and what you need in your community is what they are focused on.
yeah.
And so banking on that is why he can say with the full throat, I have nothing to do with it. And people want to believe him.
They want to believe him, and also I think that this race is, I don't know that I've been able to communicate it well, because people still keep saying, oh, well, I'm going to vote all Democrat. I'm like, you're missing it. At what point do we begin to look beyond the color of the ballot that we are casting? And if you look at how many Republicans, and VP Harris named some of them this evening. She talked about getting an endorsement from Dick Cheney. She talked about getting an endorsement from Liz. She talked about getting an endorsement from Liz Cheney. She talked about getting an endorsement from all of the different Republicans that she has gotten different endorsements from throughout the time that she has been nominated, one put forth as the presumptive nominee and then the official nominee for the Democratic Party. She also has said that she will appoint a Republican to her cabinet. At some point, it's got to not be so much about party politics. And I'm not saying that this is any time coming soon, but at some point, it's got to not be about party politics and it's got to be about the people. One thing that she said in her closing statement that I appreciated, and we can argue or debate on how accurate or how much I think she means it or wants to mean it. And we can talk about how her policies, reflect this statement. But one of the things that Vice President Harris said in her closing statement is, when I was a prosecutor, when I have been vice president, in all of my jobs, I have had one job, and that is to represent the people. I did not and have never asked, are they Republican or a Democrat? Because my job is the people. And I think that that is such an important statement because we have reached a point in our politics where it's about capitalism. It's about how much money can each campaign raise. It's about who has the best talking points. It's about who can get the best interviews. And in Trump's case, it's about who can be the loudest and the wrongest, but still get the audience and reach my target demographics that I'm trying to reach. And not about the fact that, yeah, we want someone like Vice President Harris in office because we for damn sure can't have Trump. And also, fracking is bad. It just is. Yes,
Bigly
it's bigly bad.
bad,
I,
bigly.
I just don't
It's
know
not
another way
good.
to say that. And
Um,
I got some of the most comments on that one comment that I put on Threads, but I'm like, and folks are like, progress, not perfection. I'm like, yeah, that's great. And also, no matter who we get into office, prayerfully not 45, because I think that there's one candidate you can negotiate and work with over the other. Like there are things that we need to hold, to your point, all of our elected officials accountable for. And just a reminder, we've said this in previous shows, it's not just about who we elect in office and the front office that we're looking at. It's also about the folks behind them and the folks to the side of them and the folks working with them. Because as I said, if she becomes president, then she's already said she'll appoint a Republican to her cabinet. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but I am saying
I'm
we
glad
have
she said
to.
it, but I don't think that she should have had to.
I'm glad she said it, and I don't think she should have had to. That exactly. I think that we have to be mindful of who we elect also has the power to appoint many other positions. Trump was elected into office. His administration had the power to appoint federal judges, which is why we now have judges like Judge Eileen Cannon presiding over his case in Florida. She is a Trump appointee. So let's just be mindful. We cannot all, if you're Republican, you shouldn't be voting Republican all down the ballot. If you're a Democrat, maybe you shouldn't be voting Democrat all down the ballot. Research and actually look at the people that you are voting for. Who are they voting for? What are they voting for? What are they saying? Have they shifted in their policies? On our show last week, we pulled up the vote on I pulled up the vote on the bill that passed here in Georgia for the Safe Schools Act, and highlighted on in one day they had 5 votes, and it went from 33 to 52 to 60 something to 3, or whatever the numbers were. Pay attention to stuff like that because it's important. And so if we're not truly for the people in all of these topics that, some that were discussed tonight and some that weren't: immigration, national debt, economics, healthcare, jobs, the union, the tech industry, crime, Ukraine, China, Palestine, Haiti, Gaza, uh, education and student loans came up just a little bit. Foreign policy was heavy in the conversation tonight. So, and climate and environmental change and justice. if we're not really focusing on these things and we're not electing people who care about what we care about and care about, the folks in Flint who still don't have clean water, and even before the folks in Flint didn't have clean water, the folks in Mississippi who don't have access to clean water and still don't. If we're not talking about that, if we're not talking about the lasting impacts of fracking, yes, progress over perfection. And also, it's hot as hell. It's hot as hell, y'all, and our earth is fragile. And I just don't know how many more times I can say that. And there's so many things that because this is news for us, there's so many things that impact our communities that we don't realize are climate and environmental in nature. So we're just like, oh well, at least that's not my problem right now. Yes, it is. If you have children who have asthma, if you are struggling to breathe more and more, if you have chronic illnesses that are running rampant in your community, if you walk outside and you can smell something in the air, chances are you're probably near a water cleaning or sewage facility or something in your community, because they tend to build those in Black and brown and disenfranchised communities. Those are all climate and environmental issues. And so if we're not paying attention to things like that, if we're not paying attention to when 45 gets up and says that immigrants and convicts are stealing, they were African American jobs tonight. If we're not paying attention to that, one, he's saying stuff like that to cause division, because if they can divide us, then we don't have conversations like this so that we're looking out for each other as we need to. If we're not talking about seriously what our foreign policy looks like, because our international and foreign relations are very important. Trump took us out of NATO, among other international and foreign policies that we really need to be a part of. Harris is not perfect. No politician is. And also, we have to be mindful of our foreign relations. We just have to. We just have to. And like, we are all in this world, we all exist together. And by no stretch of the imagination is the US on any solid ground to take a moral high ground when it comes to foreign policy, by any stretch. And also, we were in such worse condition when Trump was in office. We cannot afford to do that anymore. So, if we are not electing people who are for the people and for us, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? And why are we doing it? And we should quit.
Well, I want to address that. I'll also do a fact check of some other foolishness, and it's after 11, so I'll say bullshit they said. But I'm gonna take this time to break some news. Taylor Swift has endorsed Kamala Harris. That breaking news uh, after the debate. Just about this was posted about 13 minutes ago. Taylor Swift said, like many of you, I watched the debate tonight. If you haven't already, now is a great time to do your research on the issues. As Tiffany just explained to you, specifically issues um, at hand and the stances these candidates take on the topics that matter to you most. As a voter, I make sure to watch and read everything I can about this proposed policies and plans, their proposed policies and plans for the country. I thought that breaking news was especially important to share because as an example of somebody that watched the debate and made a decision. And I'm not saying that her decision couldn't have been made before the debate. Maybe it was. She went on to say that a Donald Trump account posted a fake AI post of her, and this is probably something that scheming, scamming, criminal, felonious people do.
That's a
Create fake
mouthful.
posts. And so she said recently I was made aware that AI of me falsely endorsed Donald Trump's presidential run was posted to his site. So now that can confirm that that and she won't be the only one.
No,
And
absolutely
they're
not.
going to be in tears as they talk about they're going to come up with something, maybe a disease or something. But after the performance tonight, if we're being honest, there was only one sane person that was presented to us. Only
Agreed.
one. There was only one sane person. So,
Yes.
despite what you feel, how you felt, what you thought, or maybe you feel that your feelings are facts, and somehow we've landed into that place in this country. God forbid we remain there. Facts are not your feelings are not facts.
No, they are not.
The rumbling in your stomach was not an indication of a decision that you should make for your life. and your livelihood and the livelihood and the lives of the people that live around you. He started to speak about Springfield, Illinois, today when he detected that he had lost his footing. She, we need to talk about how she expertly handled him. It's kind of like she cracked
Some filth.
him and threw him into a frying pan like an egg and took some time to decide on how she was going to make it. Do I want it over easy? Do I want it scrambled? Do I want it with
Scramble,
cheese?
little salt.
Oh no, wait a minute. I'm talking
Something.
to a felon. I don't want any seasoning because they can't afford that.
In the beautiful, masterful way in which she brought up. Funny that coming from a convicted felon. I said, oh shit, we've arrived at this part in the evening of the debate, and I just couldn't be more grateful because really he said something about her VP pick being horrible. And I posted on threads and said, not the person who picked a VP running mate who admitted to having sex with a couch. You picked a running mate who admitted to having sex with a couch, and you want to talk about Vice President Harris's down home, I'm sure Midwest country eating Tim Waltz, who would stop and help you fix your car battery if you needed help with that in Minnesota. Because what? But you have buyer's remorse over here with your hillbilly elegy VP pick. That's not me being rude, y'all. That's the name of his book and the movie or show or whatever it was that came out with the same name. You want to talk about somebody's VP pick? I just don't think that that was a wise decision because we all know who your VP pick was. And also, I want your thoughts on this, Alex, because at one point, I can't remember if it was David Muir or Lindsay Davis that asked Trump something about abortion rights, and they said, JD Vance said that you would do XYZ, and Trump said out of his mouth, "Oh, I haven't really talked to him about that." I'm sorry, what? You haven't talked to your running mate about one of the top policy discussions that everyone wants to know about, abortion and reproductive rights? You haven't talked to your running mate? First of all, I don't believe you. I just don't believe you. Second, he
Well, I
is
don't. I actually do believe that he's not the type
that's
of person that
insane.
talks to people. He talks at people. You're not going to convince me that he's ever sat in a conversation and intently listened to somebody speak to him. I've never seen it. I've never seen it done. I've never seen it on display. I've never seen it done as he was speaking to his vice president. I've never seen him done as he's speaking and sitting down for an interview when he had his show, The Apprentice. I've never, ever seen it. I've never seen that. So I have to call foul because I've never seen it. I can keep going on the times that I can reference that I haven't seen it, but I still can't come up with the time that I have.
You might be right, and I just really
He's
hate
the,
that.
after that first presidency and the second and the third time he's ran, Lindsay Davis said, "It's been 9 years since you ran for the first time. Do you have a plan yet?" The reason he doesn't have a plan is because he wasn't prepared the first time because he didn't know he was going to run. But let me
No, he didn't.
remind, because some of you are just now checking in, I heard from someone this week that said, I have to confess something to you. I have told you for years that I have voted and I've never voted before. I'm going to vote in this election for the first time. I can't have any judgment. Thank you for your commitment to yourself. Thank you for sharing that with me. That's really what I had to say because it's a very serious business where we are. But
No,
him not
it
having a plan is not indicative of his foolishness, even though he is foolish.
is.
President Barack Obama ran and passed the Affordable Care Act in the year 2012. From that time, the current Republican Party or the previous Republican Party before it became the Trump Republican Party, but it still has a lot of the same characters, vowed at that point that they would take it and repeal it. And they ran on repealing Obamacare through Obama's second term up until Hillary and Trump ran together. And his administration sat in there for 4 years and did absolutely nothing but complain about something that over 33 million Americans utilize every day. And for those that are not utilizing it because of the Affordable Care Act marketplace, they are benefiting it from their private health insurance plans that now must cover their pre-existing conditions. That means
Yes.
if you have a child with asthma, your insurance has to cover their asthma. Before this act, this is the egregious country that claims to be the best on the planet that doesn't give its citizens health care at all. They barely wanted to give you health care during a plague. He was in
Literally.
office during the plague and didn't even want to give you a stimulus to help you until he put his name on the check, which delayed it. It's not like it was his money to give you.
It was not. He
But I
also did
said
not
all
make
of that to
the decision.
say that they
I
had
just
no
have to
plan then.
disagree.
So
Yeah.
him having no plan is synonymous with them having no plans. And they are and history will tell you this. I can tell you this because I'm passionate about it and I believe what I'm saying. But they are an obstructionist party. Their goal is not policy. So
No,
we went back and forth at the beginning. You were like, I want to hear policy. You're a policy person. You're a policy nerd. They don't do policy. So when
they
they
don't.
do present one, it's really just to fuck with you because they don't care about the policy. They don't care. They want to pass their policies. They don't care about anybody else. And they are so siloed. They even speak to them in public settings, which makes them seem like lunatics.
Yeah. Well, let me not go there. But yes, I agree. And to your point,
And some of
said
them might
in
be.
his Trump said in his closing statements that she hadn't done anything, which I thought it was very odd that he used his entire time for closing statements just to talk about how much she didn't do, which
Well,
isn't
he wanted
true.
to say that, but he's also been calling her dumb, which is why she directed you. And some of you, I hope that you spend your scrolling tonight as you try to scroll before you go to sleep, and you're on social media trying to laugh and see the memes. Go and look at footage of his rallies, like she told you to do. Go look. He's been talking
He
about
wasn't
her,
making
calling
that
her
up.
dumb, and I don't know how somebody is dumb and also well, you were the president. You were the president. And
There
so
is
because and
no
that's what
CPA
happens
requirement for
when you send your
president.
standards to hell. When you send your standards to hell, anything could happen.
And I also want to highlight something that you said, talking about Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act. If you are in a state like me in Georgia, where your Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, aka healthcare.gov options, seem to be overly expensive, don't have a lot of options, they have high deductibles, or they're just all out not good plans, that is not the president's fault. Okay. That is up to your state leadership. So, one
It
thing
wasn't the
you're
result of the Affordable Care
it
Act
was
or
not
Obamacare.
no. So, for example, in my state, our governor, uh, Brian Kemp, opted, it was an option, opted to basically reject some of the federal financing and options and stipends and things that you can get if you fully expand Medicaid and if you uh, basically follow some of the rules that the federal government does. Georgia is one of 12 states that has opted to do that. And so if you are in a state where you do not have some of the same benefits and options as other states may have, don't look at the president, look at your state leadership and see what they decided to do or not do on your behalf and then make some decisions on that level. I just wanted to point that out.
Make some decisions about where you want to continue to live. Because the
Well,
more that you read about people that don't care about you, I don't, and I really shout out to all of you that you know how you taken one for the team and you're going to be an activist until you die. I really hope that people go and put flowers on your grave because you have a short life. You should not stay in hell. And the thing is they want to keep you there so they tell you that it's like this everywhere and it's not. It's not. It's not. It's crazy. And the crazy thing is if they'll do that to block you getting health care for citizens that don't need Medicaid. That is how many Medicaid subsidies are missing from your state for people that do get them. That means there are children still possibly missing meals and not getting the type of care that they need from their pediatricians because you have a greedy state. uh, there are 13 states that are in this union that rejected food funding for children. This funding was specifically for the children to eat. And the same
Right.
party that wants to complain about transgender people in bathrooms when transgender people are less than 1% of the population on the planet. So they're not overrunning anything. But if you can't create space for people that have bladders to go to the bathroom, and you spend money and funds on ads, television ads that cost upwards of $70,000. When you see those
Right.
political ads, these aren't pennies in the bank.
Right. No, they're not.
So
They're
they
not.
spend the money on that and then they refuse to ensure that your kid, and if your kid's eating, you should be concerned about the ones that in your zip code that aren't.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. I actually saw a post a bit earlier that was trying to. I want to find the number, but of course, you close Instagram and the whole thing refreshes. But I just saw something that said something about. I think it said 12,000 students in a particular county here are unhoused, like high school students, and I, again, things like that have nothing to do with the president. So when we say vote down the ballot, we are quite literally talking about voting down the ballot from federal to state to local elections. Really, the latter two are going to impact you quite a bit even when the presidential the person the even when the president uh makes decisions that don't impact you. Your local and your state elections, your mayor, your commissioners, your governor, your lieutenant governor, your secretary of state, those positions, your congressional leaders, your state congressional leaders, those positions are absolutely impacting you. And so I can't stress that enough. Were there any other points that and I also I just have to say this, even though I'm sure it goes without saying. And David Muir did a fact check live about this, which kudos to David Muir and Lindsay Davis doing the best that they could with a live fact check. I was here for that. Thank you so much. It's very hard to keep up with all of the lies and misinformation and disinformation because there's a difference between the two that Trump was giving. But when he started talking about people in Springfield eating their pets, I just can't stress enough that that's just not true. And David
It's
Muir,
racist.
it's so racist.
He was talking about Haitians.
It's just
And that's
racist.
what they've been saying on their media. Haitians are
Yes,
doing this. That's
yes,
racist.
that's racist. It's wrong. David Muir said, I spoke to the city manager and he said there's no evidence of that occurring. And he was, Trump went to argue back and forth with him, and David Muir said, again, there's no evidence of that. And so moving on.
Well, he was president. I mean, his vice presidential candidate was asked the same question. And so when he was pressed on the fact that the city manager had addressed it and said that there was nothing to it, he said people are calling my office and saying that it's true. And let me tell you again, and I hate to do this, but it's the only way that somebody somewhere will hear this and it will all start to click.
Right.
The reason that they talk about it, and they sound like lunatics because they're only talking to their people, is because the news networks that they watch, news networks, they're the ones that put these lies out there. So it's a vicious cycle. It's like the demented people that work within their campaign come up with these crazy ass lies and conspiracies.
Right.
They will talk on a quick stand up or a quick hit interview with a news pundit during the day and float that in one of their talking points. That's where it first enters the ether. They float it onto the news network. The news network responds to it. It's already been floating in 4chan and all of these dark, dark, dark places. So by
Dark.
the time it hits a mainstream network and it's repeated and they're pressed on it, they say, well, this is what I'm hearing. You're hearing it because y'all made it up. But now you've got enough of your people talking about it. You put it out there and then pull back. You don't
Yeah.
have a source, you don't have a valid anything to validate that statement as fact. It is a lie.
Right. Right.
But when they are targeted, which they often are, at specific racial and ethnic groups and cultures, and the pullback, and then there's not accountability for those people, I'm left here trying to explain to you what they're doing, which usually is not going to hit because once you're explaining, you're usually losing.
And that has you have said that multiple times.
It's true. When you
Mul-
want to sit there and explain to somebody about something, you've lost. That's how it is. So you
And
got to
he's
try
also
and
just
win them.
he and his team just are not good at explaining things. And that was evident tonight. And to be honest, one of the rules was that they couldn't have pre-written notes or anything like that. I don't think he would have done any better if he had those. So if we're going to,
He has no
wrap this,
policies. He
none.
has talking points
He
of
has
things that he
concept.
makes,
Wait,
and
he
he
has
also
concepts.
this man makes up things, and if he says them, then he believes they're true.
But he has concepts, Alex. When asked, did he have a replacement for Obamacare? He said he had concepts.
Because he
And so
said he's not the president. So,
he's not the president. And so I just want to, give him
but
his
again, you were 9 years ago, and then that was years ago when you ran for the first time. So you've already been the president. So are you conceptually saying that concept has continued to evolve over the last 9 years? Because if that's the case, nobody wants it. If you cannot take your concept into a proof of concept and give us at least proof that the concept works before you
after
take it into a
9 years.
final, like, come on now, get the hell out of here. We don't want that. I don't want that.
So if you had to if you had to give a grade for the debate this evening, how would you grade both of the candidates in their performance for the debate tonight?
I just like him. He's been graded on a curve since the man has been president. He's been graded on a curve since he brought his privileged ass down that gold escalator and forced us to deal with him every day for the last 9 years. And then when people talk about him, they don't talk about how he's declined. They don't talk about how he's possibly demented. They don't talk about how he lies constantly. You don't even know. He doesn't even remember because everything he says, he just goes with. You know what I'm saying? So the curve that I grade him on usually starts with -50, and it's a scale of 0 to 10. And if I was grading him to tonight, because he answered a question and a half and then told me he had concepts, we didn't even hit damn -50. I would give that orange man a good -62. And
Okay.
that's a reach. That's like a -D these days. D on the other side. That's how bad it was. I mean, this is a babbling but buffoon, like a bumbling idiot. Um, bam, bam. I mean, I could go down the B's. I could give an adjective about how egregious he is for every letter of the alphabet, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't take me no time.
No. Okay. And your grade.
Atrocious. I mean, Jesus Christ,
Okay. Your
the
grade.
worst. And again, imagine if you had to listen. And here is the thing, because this is why I feel like people, you are also here, and I know I say plague because that's what it was. Try not to scare you. 1 million people died here in the best place on earth to live, allegedly by the documentation,
Didn't we
and
have the highest death count in the world?
that's what they say about the place. And 1 million people died. 1 million people that probably, at least half of them would still be here. They are just gone. Up
Right.
and the person leading this country at that time said, let's try
Drink
drinking
bleach.
bleach. Seriously, full throated, with people standing behind him nodding, like, yeah. And when the doctors and the scientists said, no, that's a bad idea, all of his people turned on the doctors and the scientists and then started calling them liars. They started threatening, showing them, showing up at their houses. Like, you people, you also lived through it. And I get it. In your plague state, sometimes you're like, I don't, I no. This was never normal. You didn't hear from the president every day, ever. Did not. That was not a thing. And then he got all these saggy face people that just make up things right behind him. I mean,
Alex,
faces at the knees. It just got crazy. He brought Tails from the crib back and put a new fresh blonde wig on it and had her go out there and lie every day to where people that fact check lies started repeating alternative fact like it was something that should be considered. And you're sitting at home like, oh, damn, what's going on? The next thing that happens is all of a sudden you start turning on the news and it's no more news. They start bringing people in here. It's me, you, and I too have had panels. I have hosted shit for 20 years. There's panels behind me all over the place. But this is a special night. But what they're doing every day from 10 to 12, they put 3 people here and they say, hi, Joe. What's your reaction? Who gives a damn about Joe's reaction? That's not news. It's a waste of your time and you are being played. I said this tonight and I mean it. If what we had tonight, they're like the moderators were on point, love them. Y'all fell in love because you only know the internet and moderator. These people were journalists, okay? These people, this is a professional thing that they were doing, and this is part of the capacity that they have as a professional. And they did the job tonight. The tennis, and I'm not a journalism professor, but as a journalist, I will tell you that the number
you
one
almost were.
priority
You almost were. Let's
the number
literally.
one the number one priority is to tell the truth. And I know Snap, Instagram, whatever you're using today. Picture, food and dog toe picture, right? It's a picture for everything. But the second tenet of journalism is that you, journalists, providing the truth, you are not the story. So I am troubled when you start can tell me more about the person that you watch on the news. And I get it. We are a vain people. You want to see what they're wearing, what kind of part, what kind of wig, what type of lipstick. That's it. And you also want them to look good while they're telling you the story, but they're not the story. The fact is you need to get the fact from them. So when they become the story, then they also become the problem. That's why in regular news networks, people that do that, you start and your coworker, they fire you because now you become the story. TJ Holmes, Amy Robach. These people were journalists for over 2 decades. They're older than me. They've been doing this a much longer time. They know much better. Then they started playing in your faces every day. And while they laughed with you, snap, picture, they started doing what they were doing and made themselves the story. You have to go. Your president that came in, ushered in this terrible era, came in and made himself the story. Since he left office and started running, each term, the 2 terms he's last run, he doesn't talk about anything but himself.
No, that's not true. He talked about Hannibal Lecter and how much he loves him.
I'll rest my case. Because Hannibal Lecter was never a real person. Hannibal Lecter never had a social security number. You know why? Because he was a character that was written into a movie. I saw some I forgot. I can't if I could find the tweet. We're out of time, but if I could find the tweet, I saw someone tonight very confused about something that he said. And then they were like, wait, is he quoting? And probably because he's an entertainer, the only thing that was coming out of his mouth tonight was movie quotes because that's where he lived. And this person, I'm not really familiar with the movie as like, it's one that I've seen, but it's not one that like I could give you the script. So I when I remember the name, but I'm like, I'm gonna look back into that because if he went with this narrative and nobody caught it, and this person was like, No, that's from a movie,"
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if he was quoting
and you wouldn't be surprised because he's the type of
Alex.
person that plays in your face. That's why. He's the type of person that plays in your face, and he wants to play in it for the next 4 years. Like, what type of selfish old person wants you to watch them get old? That's literally what he wants America to do. And I don't know old people that are usually that selfish that I want to subject an entire country to sit and listen to me every day when we all know that when you get old, the decline happens. This man knows he's not moving like he was. I mean, he eats Big Macs and KFC. There's not that much more time left for
Alex,
anyone that eats that. No,
please.
okay, all right. It's not food. So I'm just saying, it's just not.
What is your grade for Vice President Harris before we are kicked off of the interwebs?
A strong 7.5. She's a little rusty. She hadn't been on the stage in a minute, but she came with policy. She came with fact. I don't give anybody tens on anything. I don't even give myself a 10 when I'm rated on a scale like that because nobody's perfect.
Right.
Um, Perfecting is a process, and that's my belief. So I believe that for her. I think she did exceptional, but compared to a negative 62, damn, like what else could you ask for?
I mean, touche.
Phenomenal.
I don't even know that I would put 45 on a scale. I think a negative 62 would be gracious, and I don't want to do that. I just kind of want to put him in a corner with a dunce cap on, and so I'll leave him there. For Vice President Harris, I think I would agree somewhere between.
Explain what a dunce is for the babies.
Is that old? Oh, I'm not sure that I know how to define that. Nope, that's rude. I can't say that. Yikes.
I
I'd like
mean,
to sit him in a corner with a hat on it that says "Take stupid out of America again." That's the best I can do without causing too much offense. Um,
the
and so
number of
that's
people that are going to try to eat dogs and cats because he said it, please don't. Please. No one is doing that. And if you bring a plague to this land because of this man, I personally will come and find and probably pay
Alex.
somebody to become Hannibal Lecter for you. Okay? Let's not do that. Let's not eat dogs and cats or rats or anything that like I just I'm so baffled. I really am. And I
Well,
got a
Alex,
little excited. It was that type of night, but
some people do eat raccoons and other roadkill things, so we can't tell them not to eat that. Um,
dogs.
dogs and cats is
And I
silly.
know again, this country is not
That's
above accusing entire races of people of eating that. I lived in this country
it's
when y'all
not.
did that. I know
Did
that you will do it.
would would. So yeah, let's not do
And he
that.
would say something like, "Oh, I didn't mean that because I love Oriental people because that's who he is." And the nerve to bring up Ashley Babbitt, who should have complied. I can't. I'm just so surprised at the night. I haven't drinking a thing, and I really wanted to drink this throughout the broadcast, but I am so. And I think in the morning I still will. The fact that also live I found a format that works for me. This one's a little bulky, but the fact that I gotta use my hands when I talk. I got visuals. I know how to make this work. I'll probably be back here in the morning because I'm not gonna be able to sleep immediately. I have issues with what I just watched because we now not only normalize it, but then y'all went out of your way for 8 weeks to call Joe Biden who'd be riding his bike. Like y'all really destroyed that man. And and I'm grateful, thank you, because we would not be where we are today.
We wouldn't. And he
So
he
things
has absolutely turned in all of his care. I knew it was done for him when he told the reporters, "What do you have any regrets?" And he said, "Talking to y'all," and walked away.
he did not know that he was gonna be grateful. And
He just
I
the
love that for
peace.
Joe. I love
I
that.
love that for Joseph. Okay, my grade for Vice President Harris, I would give her about the same, maybe a 7. I think that she was just so baffled at the level of
Can we?
lies and
Because
ignorance.
she was the thing. For those of you that were watching and you didn't know this, she had never met him before.
Never met him before. He did not want to shake her hand. He's just a big.
But to
Mm,
see how baffled that she was, because although she knew what an egregious beast that he is, I don't think that she imagined that this buffoon would be presented that way so close to her. She seemed startled, confused, and she wasn't confused about policy. She was just really
no,
baffled, like, this is who he
how can
really
so
is.
many lies come out of? And you know her favorite cuss word is MF, and I saw it about to escape her lips. She was this close to calling him that, and she took a very long pause at one point in answering something and was just like, whew. I said, oh, the black woman is in her tonight in full effect. Because at one point she just was laughing at him. I was like, oh, he's cooked. Anytime a black woman laughs at your lies, you're cooked. Like, she just watched him lying and just chuckled mightily. And that just really blessed me throughout the evening. Very meme worthy. I've got a couple
I
of
mean,
memes.
because I
Um,
know there's some that you want to share with me. I want
yeah,
to go through some of my highlights. I think it's really important, and I don't mind taking the time. You're here tonight. Bless the Lord. Come back tomorrow if you get sick of me. That's fine. Um, I'd like to. I sent you an article, and that's not the meme that I want to share right now. But
okay.
I really want to know if this article is true. I'm not going to amplify. I don't amplify things like that. But really will say that this man and his cabal of criminals is really at an all-time low.
Cabal of criminals is crazy, accurate, and also crazy.
I mean, he's surrounded by a cabal of criminals.
You're not
But if
wrong.
if what I just shared with you is true, my God in heaven and hell,
I
because you talk a lot of shit to also be so felonious.
so felonious. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't the only one. Like I
Actually, and I found
just
my. I actually, I'm gonna confirm my reporting, and then I'm
okay.
going to move on to my memes and we can come back to this. But I
Okay.
will say that I'm going to confirm my reporting that the cabal of criminals is out of control, and Byron Donald's political career was marred by allegations of a troubled past, including drug dealing and bank fraud. Now, wow, for somebody that uses that, but with the shifty mouth like he has, I am not surprised that you're a fraud. I am not. And I have found a new light because you sit there and no one's ever thought to ask you. No one's ever thought. But when you come out, and he was one of the first person to jump into the spin room. He's had a lot to say about Trump tonight and the lies that he put on Kamala. And guess what? Wow, bank fraud and drug dealing. And I know that you're from Crown Heights, which is just a couple blocks from me. So for you to go down there and then find you a snow bunny and make you some children,
Alex. Alex.
fraud, bank fraud.
Alex.
My God, today. Um, I want to jump into some of the great memes and comical things that I've seen tonight. The first thing is on my screen. I mean, because I validated, I don't mind. I'm gonna leave it there just for this piece. I'll move on from it. I know,
Okay.
but listen,
Okay.
sir, bank fraud. Now, come on, sir. Hey, I I can't wait. I can't wait because we'll come on back to that. One that I saw today that I really enjoyed, um, and I was doing that while we were preparing for this next one. I would jump into. I didn't say them all, but this one I just saw that I also think that you're gonna love. Come on, guys. I don't want to get on here and scroll. Okay, all right, there we are.
Not a dumpster fire next to her on the stage.
Is
I
there a
need
better meme? Is
no.
there a better meme?
I need that immediately. I need that asaptually. Yes. It's
I
quite
want to say, I want to shout out to Auntie Dion Warwick because, as
yes.
always, she
Yes.
comes, she leaves, and she destroys. She does what Auntie Dion is here to do.
Because
She's
the
some grandma.
said
She ain't my grandma, but
yelling and lying. Doing all that yelling and lying. And that's
that's what you were
actually
doing.
what there was one that I said, now since dunce cap is old, I'm gonna have to explain this reference as well. But there's one that I put that where I said when he was yelling, what was it? I gotta find what I said. All I heard when he said she is Biden was I am Weasel. And for those who are too young to know what I Am Weasel is, I Am Weasel was an old school cartoon that used to be on Cartoon Network, which is now no longer in existence, which is crazy. Um, and it used to say, I am Weasel, I am Weasel. And then he would just yell, I am Weasel. And that was all I heard coming out of Trump's mouth this evening multiple times, but particularly when he was just yelling, she's Biden. She is Biden. I don't know why she keeps trying to get away from it. She is Biden. I'm like, okay, but you're not proving any kind of points by yelling this. So Auntie Dion is correct when she said doing all of that yelling and lying. He did nothing but that, which is why he has to have a dunce cap. Oh, I could pull up a dunce cap for those who are watching us. If you're not watching us, you should go to Noir Plus.
A dunce cap was something that this country used to put on the heads of slow learners. So one
That
of the
was a
reasons,
very good way of saying that.
and we don't use dunce caps just like we don't use the R word
We do
because
not.
they put dunce caps on R word kids. That's the actual definition. So that's one of the words that one of the reasons that that word is no longer with us. It's very degrading.
It is very degrading. We don't use that word.
Another meme I wanted to share with you. I thought it was wonderful.
If six of y'all went out,
Say it with hi for you will really the whole you need to run. She said,
because
"Six
that's
of y'all went
stupid.
out. Hi." That's what she said. That's how that went.
Whitney was really on her good drugs when she sang
Not
that.
only did she just finish that debate, the following tweet says that she also continued to go campaign at a rally right afterwards.
She did. I just saw her walking on a plane on the plane with Doug. So she did. Trump looked like he stayed in the crowd for a little bit. I'm
And
not
then
sure.
went to the drive-through to get his nightly McDonald's. We know he loves McDonald's. He fed the national football champions that from the White House when he was in office because he said that they would love that, but like athletes eat that. They don't. But he spent so much time in Taiwan, he would never know that. Um,
Well, because he needs one of these.
Jesus Christ.
It's time to go to bed. He needs a dunce cap. And I wouldn't mind seeing him write on a chalkboard. I will be good 97 times. Or in uh multiples of 45. I will be good.
I,
Or
I lo- Listen.
very Harry Potter this. I will not tell lies. That's really what I want. I want Umbridge for my Harry Potter fans. I want Umbridge to sit Donald Trump down with her special pen and have him write, I will not tell lies. That's what I want. For those who don't watch Harry Potter, her special pen makes it so that it embeds what you're writing with the pen into your skin.
We had some truth over on the Fox News Network tonight.
Did we? Harris and Trump trade barbs in high stakes showdown.
Make no
Okay.
mistake about it. Trump had a bad night. This is pretty much her night.
Well,
Well, duh.
I mean, he looks like he almost had a coronary saying it. But as much as everyone talked about Biden's performance after the first debate, I just feel like this is a rightful turnaround of circumstances. Everyone wanted Biden to step out because of his age and everything else. I just don't understand why nobody is calling on Trump to do the same. He's clearly, he is reminding me of Herschel Walker's campaign speeches at this point. And Herschel Walker, for those who were not following the race between him and Warnock here in Georgia, was saying just some of the most, like we're
We don't
all,
have time to get into what like trend lines and polls and
we don't.
data, but the
We're
trend
pretty
line will show you that these are the type of people that they put in front of their people, which tells you how they feel about not just their people, but people in general. The fact that they can pass off somebody like that and say, hey, look, America, we want y'all to follow this man. And in fact, we want to create policies so that we remove everyone that puts checks and balances in place so that they can be loyal to him. Meanwhile, across the pond, the place that we didn't sing Kumbaya and we shall overcome to get away from, their monarchs are dying. I almost the almost everybody in Buckingham Palace just finished their final round of chemotherapy. So we don't know what's
Alex,
going on over
Alex,
there. Uh,
Alex.
just bear with me. And so we have they're killing monarchies. They keep them as figureheads. We're over here trying to build one.
Oh my God.
And then we're not educating people, so no one even knows what that is.
For those who don't know, we live in and work and operate in a democratic republic. Okay. Which means that elect, we are liberated to elect democratically folks to our republic, governing body of this country. We cannot, should not have an autocratic maniac in office who said that he will be dictator on day one.
Ever.
Just it just shouldn't happen. And that's really, that's actually all I have left.
I got two more things.
I'm
It's
listening.
notable that he was asked about one world leader that was with him, and his response was Victor Orban. Viktor Orban. Google it. For him to say that that's the one that's with him is insane. It's insane. It makes no sense at all. Unless he said he wants to be a dictator.
Victor Orban being your
Pretty damn
only
close.
ally
That's pretty damn close.
is just outrageous. And I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about that. What's your second thing? Oh, this is going to be a biggie. Okay.
It's not going to be big. It's going to be
Okay.
very small.
Okay. I'm listening.
Um, as a student of history and politics,
Mhm.
and spent my pastimes and bored nights watching debates with William F. Buckley from the 60s. And I have followed like the progression of things in this country. In the last 20 years, if we just talked about the types of candidates that we've had on the stage, it's been somewhat of a clown show. I mean, we had like 12, 14, 19 Republicans on the stage one year. Like
It
it
was.
got crazy.
It
And
did.
then we let this man come in there and name them all
We did.
because he doesn't have the capacity to retain the actual names of these people.
He does not.
But and I didn't plan on tributing paying homage to James Earl Jones tonight. And this is really indirectly. But as you sit and you listen to things that Donald Trump say, and I say it because we had to sit through this debate. Most likely, we'll never see another one. I'm going to go out on a limb. I didn't do well this weekend in my fantasy league, but I'm going to go out on a limb and use this luck to say we will not see Donald Trump in another debate in this lifetime.
No. I think his team will probably advise him to not do another one.
No, I will never. We will never see it again. Um, Chris Wallace, now at CNN, said that this was not only the worst debate that Donald Trump has ever done, this is the worst debate for Donald Trump in the American history. well, the worst debate in American history because of Donald Trump.
He's not
That's
wrong.
a huge statement.
Yeah,
Um, but
he's
I
not
was
wrong.
going to say that while I was listening to him, and I like to leave us all with some joy sometimes, but we wonder sometimes, like we were taught morals and values, and we were also taught about bullshit, and we were taught in subtle ways. But as you know, I know cartoons made by adults for kids always had messages for adults. Those messages were key for us as kids. And so when you listen to him and people are like, what is he saying? Who is he talking? And sometimes he is talking to his people. But other times, all you're hearing is asatana sana squash banana. The reason you're hearing that is because it's like you're listening to him and he's like, you're a baboon and I'm not. And you're like, where have I heard this before? And when I say plan, I said plan in my face, but I wanted to come back with my final analogy because that hit for you, did it not? When I said squash banana, you were like, oh my God. And you were 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 watching this on repeat. And when you're learning your words, you're repeating. It wasn't Zazu, Rafiki. You're repeating him. Sana squash banana, and you're repeating it. But once you learn words, you stop doing that. And you're like, what the hell is he doing? What is he doing? You that feeling right there was you learning. That is why it resonates. Because you have somebody who's literally a baboon messing with you every day and then hitting you, punching you in the stomach, doing things that are so painful, and then being like, "Oh, you're a baboon and I'm not." The fuck you are. You are indeed. You are. And with that, I promise I'm done.
Oh
I'm
my God.
done. I have had it. Because that's all I got. I know we weren't planning to end the show on that note, but to me, I felt like the what you heard tonight was some bullshit from that man. Do not vote for that. I can't tell you who to vote for. I pride myself on not doing that. But in your best interest, pick somebody else. There.
Literally, literally.
And anybody else that is not in your best interest is the wrong person. Somebody that literally would go out of their way to make sure that you died or care enough to say, why don't you try drinking bleach? And never denies that because he said it
Boldly.
from the people's house, a house that your taxes, FICA, the reason the sprinklers cut on at the White House, FICA. So the next time you look down, and I don't know how much it is on your check, but it's too damn much on mine for me to want it contributing to anything that has to do. We already got to pay for his security till he dies. Come on, y'all. Come on.
Ugh.
And that's out of pity.
Is it?
We're paying the position, paying for the position, paying to protect the position. I
I don't
don't
have
know. Usually we want
any.
to pay to protect them because they aren't babbling baboons and they hold the secrets of the nation. In this case,
That is
you're a
depressing.
baboon and I'm not. I don't know.
That is very depressing. And on that note, I'm going to go have a cookie. Because I deserve after what I just had
I
to
deserve as
endure.
well. My
So I'm
my
gonna go
meal, I ordered a meal during that treacherous time we had to listen to that, but it is what it is. This coverage concludes at this moment. Thank God there probably won't be another, but there's more obviously in the end coverage on uh, the presidential election here in the United States. And
and we
um,
still have a vice presidential debate. So that will be between JD Vance and Tim Walz. I cannot wait to see that.
I'm going to send my assistant.
Myself, Tiffany Linnell, and Alex Haynes will be here covering that debate as well. So if you have any questions that you would like
I
us
will
to
be
cover,
absent.
if you have any questions you would like us to cover or consider, please don't hesitate to send them to us on Threads. You can send them to Black Alerts, that's BLK Alerts on Threads or X. Or Instagram, and we will see it there. You can also reach me at Tiffany Linnell on, I think, all of the platforms, at Tiff Linnell on Instagram and at Tiff Linnell on Threads. Um, Alex, Do you want the folks to get in touch with you?
I mean, it's whatever. Alex Unmuted.
There you go. Uh,
Responses are sporadic and they come, usually when I have absolutely nothing to do.
which is rare. So message us at BLK Alerts. You can catch any part of this that you missed on NoirPlus.tv/news. Make sure you are following us there. All of our shows are there. We will be doing a plethora more of shows. Make sure to also follow both of our podcasts, Alex Haynes, Unmuted Nation, and myself at Tiffanie Talks, where we will also upload this as a podcast episode among our other shows and discussions on both of our
We
individual
may be
shows.
back tomorrow after I tell you that Trump showed up in the spin room.
Okay, well,
See ya.
y'all have a good night. Happy debate night. And seriously, rest in paradise to James Earl
Please
Jones.
do.
Long live the king. Adios.
Squash banana.
You know what? I can't.